our personal budget. And we have this evening with us Denise Williams. She is of financially focused, and she will introduce herself shortly, just to tell you a little bit about herself and why she's qualified to speak to us on this subject. Now, as you know, it's not business as usual. COVID-19 has taught many of us many very serious lessons. Many of us have to be going into our savings to survive. Many very serious lessons. Many of us have to be going. I'm still getting an echo. Can you speak up for the time being? I don't know why it's giving me that echo, because I'm off. Yes. Yes. A lot of us have to be living off our savings. A lot of us have lost our jobs or working less hours, or there's just not enough money in the kitty because we have to be bulk buying in order to manage the everyday demands of life. Curfew, so we have to make sure that we are stocked up at home for those of us who can afford to stock up. So I thought it very prudent to speak about finances, because a lot of people are depressed, they're under stress, and they don't know what to do. They're looking left and right, they don't know where to turn their knees. So I just want, first of all, introduce yourself. Well, let me first introduce myself. I am Sandra Samuels. Keep on forgetting to introduce myself because not everybody knows me. I am Sandra Samuels, CEO of Total Email. And this IG Live is new to us because we really want to reach our clients, reach our Facebook fans, our IG fans, keep in touch and just kind of try to help in whatever way we can, because we say progress for Jamaica. We say progress for every individual. We say we shall overcome. We say this too shall pass. So we want to help anybody who we can. If it's even one person that we help, our work would have been done. So I am Sandra Samuels, owner and operator, CEO of Total Email Limited. Also affected by COVID-19. I will go into a little bit of some of what I have done, or I'm still doing to cope during COVID-19 as a small business owner and somebody who is living and supporting herself in this period. So Denise, can you introduce yourself, please, and let the IG fans know who you are and about a little bit about your platform as well.
Okay, well, as stated, my name is Denise Williams, and I think I was motivated by my family is from Denham Town, and for those of you who know, it's a very rough area. And you know, what characterized the growing up was the monthly juggle with the bailiff, whether that was the bailiff for the furniture or the bailiff for where you live and such. It was very unpleasant, to just make it very simple.
Right.
Opportunity came and I was able to further my education, and where my passion was in journalism. When I got into journalism, I realized what I saw around me was a lot of the similar practices of what I grew up in terms of the relationship with money. And so I took the decision to specialize in financial journalism and to really learn why some people were better with money than others. And it became a passion of mine to not just learn it for myself, but then to teach others, because I found it very hurtful to see other people living like how my grandmother and my father and my mother and such living like that. It almost seemed unnecessary, but it was because, finance has its own language and a lot of people don't want, there's math and there's the language, and it is like a barrier to people. And so I saw it as my calling to lower that barrier, make the language more simple, and interview people who could help me understand. And as the years went by, of course, improve my education, improve my knowledge. But I continue, so that then I branched out on my own, and that's where Financially Focused was born, really, with the mission to educate persons and to lift persons, and to say it doesn't matter what your background is. It don't matter that you have that close relationship with the fear of a bailiff coming for your bed or your dresser. That has nothing to do with who you can become if you're willing to do the work and learn.
Excellent. Now, we are living through a period of COVID-19. We have been going through it pretty much from like the second week of March. I want you to just take us through well, first of all, let persons know that this is nothing to be ashamed of, to be struggling at this period, and how we can best manage, and how we can best get through this period. And what I wanted to address also before we get into that is, when should the discussion start about money with our children and our significant other? And even if, let's say for argument's sake, you get to your position of you graduate from school, how can we find out more about money? And when we talk about money, what does that mean exactly? Money just mean to be able to go buy food, or does money mean investment, savings, how you plan your budget, that kind of thing? So I just want you to just give us an overview, and to just demystify this whole thing about managing your money. And is it too late to start?
All right, so let me just answer the last thing first. That says no, it's not too late. What COVID has done is tear open the curtain, rip off everybody's drawers. Everybody is basically naked right now in some form or the other. Anything you didn't do, should I do this, that is probably what's riding you right now in COVID. You see, the thing with COVID is that COVID has, because it is invisible, it has hit us in all of those invisible places in ourselves. And so anxiety is ton up. Right. Anxiety is before you get to money. Because guess what happened? You see, when your anxiety turn up, you don't know how to talk to the banker. You don't know how to talk to your children. You don't know how to talk to your spouse. Everything is a fight right now because of anxiety. So what I tell people, before you get to the money, get to yourself. There is an anxiety that we all have to kind of get control of. Yes, so does this mean you need to become more spiritual? Does this mean you need to breathe more? You need to do yoga. You need to get on your knees and pray. You need to get into your Bible. What is it that you can do?
Exercise, whatever.
For anxiety and care for that anxiety, because before we get to the money, a lot of articles say that COVID is going to unleash a tsunami of mental health issues. Okay? Because we are all dealing with fear. We're dealing with hurt, sadness, guilt, these big, heavy emotions that COVID has brought. We are fearing homelessness, joblessness. Yes? Our relationships are under pressure because you're in the house with the spouse and the children and everybody that gets on top of your nerves. That is where the conversation with COVID begins. And actually, Sandra, before you're talking to anybody, you're talking to yourself. Right. So let's start with the first investment, the first COVID investment. It's 2 things you need to invest in right now. Figure out what it is that soothes your anxiety, but healthy. So I'm not telling you to go buy how much 5 gallon ice cream I eat at one time because that make you feel less anxious. That's not helpful. How can you be healthy and self-soothe? So that first investment is going to be on whether you're going to take a quiz on Google, put in self-care, self-soothing in Google and read up. Maybe it's time for you to take a personality test to find out who you really are so that you can self-soothe, so that you can almost become friends with the anxiety, because I'm not promising you that the anxiety is going to go away. The question is how you deal with it. Okay? If anxiety is driven because of guilt, you need to deal with that. Yeah? If anxiety
what about, I mean, some of us may need a little bit more than that. How about visiting a psychologist or a psychiatrist? I mean, if you can afford it.
No, but even if you can't afford it, perhaps if you have a minister, or maybe there is a Facebook group that you can, share with, right? Because again, this is the investment in the time to say, Google self-care, self-soothing. You can also put that phrase in Facebook. So right. Groups may come up. So let's not be constrained with what we have and what we don't have. And right. In fact, that leads me to the second investment, personal development. Are you going to be the same person when COVID is over that you was before COVID?
No.
Are you going to carry all of the baggage which you're not caring for? Yeah, so that's the self-care. And then are you going to, whatever knowledge you had before COVID, are you going to stop there? Or are you going to take this opportunity and grow? If you want a 100% guaranteed return on investment, grow yourself. Find right. a new skill. Okay? I'm positive, Sandra, before COVID, you were not an IG host.
Nope, not really. Okay. Did a little thing every now and again, but not every week.
No.
But that's so here you have to touch base with my customers.
Exactly. So here we go. You have now developed a skill and you can take it as far as you're comfortable in going. But the idea is, what can you do? So where I'm starting within the investment is self. Deal with your anxiety and then personal development. And somebody might say, oh, that's easier said than done because the children and the spouse and the job, and yeah, but guess what? That's gonna be there anyway. It was there before COVID, now in COVID, and it's gonna be there after COVID. There has to be 60 minutes, at least 60 minutes. So does that mean you have to get up 4:30 in the morning or maybe go to bed 11 o'clock at night? I'm not certain where you're gonna carve out 60 minutes for yourself, but you are precious. You are your number one asset. It's time to carve time for your precious self and invest in managing your anxiety and develop a new skill. Okay, so that is layer number one in this COVID, plan of action for your money.
Right.
All right. So now let's stay at home and we have our children and we have our spouse. Let's say you are doing the work, you take maybe 5 or 6 days and start working on self-care. And you are in a position where you can approach people in a more calm, reasonable fashion. Now,
but the light going lock off, Denise. The light going lock off, yes, and the children hungry, and they're trying to do online school, and there's no internet. How do I
Yeah,
manage that?
but regardless, if you are anxious and screaming at everybody, what it solve?
No,
If we are
nothing.
if we're about solutions, we need to have a structure. And the structure is, you don't listen. In the days long, long ago when we all used to be on the airplane, didn't they tell you put on your oxygen mask first?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You don't take care of yourself. If you don't have on that oxygen mask, how are you going to help anybody? You are of
Right.
no help to anybody when you are freaking out. No help. Okay.
Right.
So
So
now
step
it's
one.
right. So now it's time for a reality check. Your utilities, you have a problem with your utilities. Immediately put on shame and call the utilities company. And do not let a customer service person tell you any foolishness that you don't want it. You want help. You may need a payment plan. You may need something to be done for you. You may just ask, you may have to ask for them to recheck the bill. Something. It is time to not let shame stand in your way. And don't
And
ask
it
somebody else to do it.
also you may need to cut down on your usage. I mean, deliberately so.
You do, if you are not person with the air conditioning, it's time now for a fan. And maybe if you're somebody with the fan, maybe you need to cut down the number of fans. You have to be creative. So
Right.
again, for the utilities now, we're looking at cutting your usage, calling the companies, and don't call one time. Keep calling till you find someone who can make action happen.
Right.
Yeah? And
Yeah.
then we're looking also at, just look at the bills, look at your reality. If it's time
What
to
kind
cut,
of conversation? What kind of conversation am I having with the children?
so first of all, I'm going to presume that none of us have stupid children. And the children will understand that it is time. COVID is different because they're at home.
I don't agree with you. I don't agree with you there because
So
I think you have to have the conversation. A lot of us think that they'll automatically know that because these kids don't understand that. No, these kids don't really understand that. Look, things have changed because I want to play my games. So instead of playing games all day, all night, hours will have to cut.
Right, but what I'm trying to say to you is I'm presuming that you're not talking to stupid children. I didn't say they would automatically understand. So when you're not talking, you're going to say, listen, mommy and daddy are having financial issues. The TV can't run or whatever, the phone, the game and such. You're going to have a calm, rational conversation. Now, let's say your children are not calm and rational and they don't pay you any mind. Again, it's time to act. So you know what you do? You don't have a problem with the cell phone. You make them keep the cell phone and you hold on to the charger. Problem solved. You don't give them the charger, right? So now there's nothing to plug in. So you lock up the chargers. So either they conserve the phone battery or they don't have it, right? You go to the cable company and you reduce your package.
Right.
If you need the internet for work, for example, so you can't just cut the internet. But maybe you don't need the premium HBO channels. You don't need the best. You get the basic channel. Okay?
Somebody is saying, but let's remember they're at home. What does that mean exactly?
It means they need to be comfortable, but really, I mean, I would not encourage you to get yourself in a financial hole so that they can be comfortable. Now, mind you, they can nag you. They can give you a bad face. But guess what? That works when you feel guilty and you are not doing the work on your emotions.
You have to be realistic.
Exactly. So if your children know they can play you because you're guilty, you feel sad, you haven't done the work to clean up yourself, then of course they're going to play you and it's going to hurt you financially. So let's say, for example, you're divorced or so, and you feel guilty because the marriage didn't work and this and that and this and that. And so you give in and give in and give in order to basically buy your children's love. Well, it's going to
Right.
cost you. And you will get not even gratitude in response. But if you do the work,
And what we have to also remember is that the reality is that the salary has been cut. Some of
exactly.
us are not earning, so we really, it's whether they're home or not, we have to find less expensive ways to engage
So
them.
entertain ourselves. Now, here's the other thing. I would, whatever money I budgeted to go supermarket, I'd give the children, and I'd let them have the experience of the money. Not like I'll better tell them that here's $1. It can only buy this. But if you want to walk up and down the store, let them have the real world experience to understand there are limits. Okay,
Explain what you mean by that and what age group we're talking about.
all right, so let's say you have teenagers who want to be unreasonable. Yeah, because
Right.
they need this, they need that, they need. Now it's time for them to go to the supermarket with you if you weren't already sending them to the shop and feel a real world budget. It is time for them to go to JPS or Bill Express or wherever and pay the utilities. It is time for
That's
them to
interesting.
clean. You understand? For younger children, well, you have to bend the tree while it's young, which comes back to the inner work. If you are not cleaning up your emotions, people in your family will play you and live whatever fantasy life they have on your expense. That's just the reality. And it may
Okay, so
hurt.
I'm a saver and my husband is the spender, or vice versa. I am as the husband, I'm the saver,
Right,
and my wife is the
right.
spender. And for some reason, they haven't gotten the memo that
Yes,
um and you're at home and you
right,
want peace in your life, and
right.
it's not quite sinking in. So she or he is still picking up the grapes and the apples
Yes,
and the pears
yes,
and the steak and the oxtail,
yes,
and
yes.
but my salary has been
All right.
cut in half or
Okay.
non-existent.
All right, here we go now. This is where it's going to get tough because you have many, 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 many options. Here's one option. You start your self-care work, you start your personal development work, and you begin to see that you have a value. So even if your salary has been cut 25%, you have value. And part of that value is that I love you so much that I'm going to set the example by loving myself. This is a hard one, you know. If
Right.
you have a joint credit card with someone who is not respectful, it may be time to visit the bank and sever that joint account. So the
But it's
credit
still
card,
but it's still gonna put a burden on the family because we're still married.
no, what's going to happen is the only weapon the person will have against you is the emotions, the bad face, the no sex, the whatever. So, yes, it's going to be rough, but peace isn't the absence of war. Peace is an internal state that happens regardless of war. So, you can be at peace with yourself and then your family. I'm not saying this is unpleasant, I'm saying it's the reality.
Right.
The scenario you have presented, Sandra, is a family that is not prepared to adjust. They are
Right. No,
not
one person
prepared.
in the family. One person in the family. Whether it is the wife or the husband. Because
Right. So
sometimes we're
it's,
not on the same page.
which is fine, but if there's a person who is a spendthrift that is spending their own money,
Mm-hmm.
that has their own account, will have to will have to face the consequences.
So
However,
therefore, hold on. So let me drill down a little bit because I want people to get it to know.
yes,
Because I mean, this is something that I've had to face. So I'm trying to drill it down so people understand. This is somebody that you love, you care for. But the reality is this: the earning is not what it used to be. So
right,
therefore, the expenses will have to cut. One
right.
person is pliable, the next person is not.
But
So
the next
you have a
person,
conversation, there
no,
is
but
no shift.
be careful. Because one person may be pliable to the financial reality. That same person is not going to be pliable to the relationship reality. That person may say, my salary cut by 25%. So in order for us to survive, we need to cut expenses by 50%.
Right.
Okay? So they're willing. The spouse, man or woman, says, no, I'm not budging. Right? Life gonna continue as is. Somebody has to make a choice because the person who is financially pliable, if they are trying to save the relationship at all costs, then prepare for financial ruin. Just be comfortable with the people they live calling you every minute, your credit card statements flying through the. Be careful, be comfortable
So
with that misery.
how do you draw the line? How?
You have
Because the light is going to cut off. The light is going to cut off.
Sandra, it's a personality thing. For my personality, I would go to the bank, I would cut the joint credit card. I done. So that person who, my spouse who's going to the supermarket and no one either, when they go to the supermarket and they swipe the credit card, it will be declined.
Okay.
And when it's declined, they will come home and want to find out what happened. That now is the time when you lay out the numbers in front of them and say, darling, I love you.
There
But
you go now. So what that's what I want to do, because a lot of us just talk, you know. A lot of us don't put the numbers, because sometimes when you put the numbers down on the table, because personally speaking, I didn't even know how much money I was spending. It's when COVID happened now and I said, wait a minute now, all right? So I paid this for mortgage, I paid this for food, I do this for entertainment. I don't I don't check my entertainment money, really, because it's me alone. But the truth is, we all have to adjust. What if it affects the relationship? She says, what happens if it affects the relationship after?
Yes,
Anika, that is something that you will have to decide,
no,
really,
COVID,
because financial ruin is serious.
COVID is going to separate the strong relationships from the ones that are not. That's as simple as possible. Because if a person is not prepared to adjust their spending and you cut them off from your access and you said to them, if you want to keep spending, it will cost only you, not me. And the person now, every day they must show you bad face, no
but
sex.
It's going to cost you too, you know, because they live in the house and you still have to pay the light because you don't want to be in darkness. So
yeah, but but guess what? In COVID, we are all in some discomfort. The picture what you painted is of a relationship where one party is absolutely in refusal of the reality of COVID.
So that means decision will have to be made to cut off.
That means that person needs counseling. That person doesn't need coddling. You shouldn't coddle them in their fantasy that COVID hasn't changed anything. They need to cut. It's almost like a junkie. You know, the hurt thing is that you may find yourself married to a financial drug addict who can't see reality. So
So
what do
that's why
you
it's
do?
best to put it in print, though. This is the light, this is the water, this is what the
No, no,
income is, this is what
yes,
you're bringing in, this is what I am bringing in, this is where the
yes.
shortfall is. You don't think
You
that
see,
makes a difference?
it might. A reasonable person, it will make a difference. So I say get calm, put it in
Right.
right, put the situation on paper and talk with the person. If it is a case where the person says, I don't care, you have to act. It's time to cut the bills. Anything like you can cut and you say, look, I'm not paying for this. I'm not sharing this. Done. Because if your salary has been cut, Sandra, or worse, what if you've been laid off? There's people who've been laid off for 60 days, sent home without a dollar. What exactly are they supposed to do to a spouse that won't stop spending? What are they supposed to do?
Tough decisions. Tough decisions have to be made.
Tough
All right.
decisions.
The next thing now, how does one stretch that shortened dollar?
Well,
I was working $10. I'm now working 5.
it's looking at the fact. All of us have, maybe it was, boy, I hate to use this. This was a big joke a few months ago. Well, the trip to Starbucks, was it online shopping? What is it? What were you made the grapes and the steak and the such in the supermarket? What was I doing before COVID that looked at my that made the money go? Am I juggling 2 households? Do I have a girlfriend and a wife? I mean, what am I doing? You know what I'm saying? Am I paying for online stuff? Do I have online memberships? What is it that I'm doing? You know, um, what am I doing that I can stop doing? Listen, I think COVID is the biggest reality check we will
Mm-hmm.
ever have in our life. And the longer COVID goes on, the more of our fantasies are exposed. And when I say fantasy, I don't mean like sexual fantasies, but just the fantasy of who we say we are. So, for example, you tell me that we're doing this Instagram live. I have to dress up. You're not going to see me in my dress slippers or old house dress or whatever because I have a particular fantasy about how I should look in public.
Right.
So this is what COVID is stripping us of the fantasy. I see where someone said if there can be no compromise, there can be no marriage. So it seems like the better or worse vow has to go. Maybe the fantasy of the marriage was based on certain cash flow. And when there's no cash flow, the fantasy
Yeah.
of the marriage is gone. Or your definition of being a good parent was based on what you can spend. And if you can't buy your child a new cell phone, that means you're a bad parent. If
Right.
your child don't have an Xbox, you're a bad parent. So the idea of your definition of yourself drives your financial decisions. What if you're guilty that you are the first person in your family to get a university degree? And so you have to maintain your mother, your grandmother, your auntie, and some cousin, your brother and sister. What if
But you're
that was
going far. You're going far. Some people, they're the first person who ever work. Not even just getting a degree. The first person out of the household to be working. And
and
so
so
they have to remind everybody.
they're guilty. They don't have to do anything. Nothing you have to do are dead. There's nothing
Right.
else you have to do. But they feel guilty about having whatever. I had a girlfriend who she has 4 children. She's married, and she got the opportunity for an upgrade. So this was like 2 years ago, and she got an opportunity for her vehicle to be upgraded, and she didn't need to pay a deposit because of the company she worked for. And because she was the first to have a steady job and put herself through university, the family felt like she owed them. And her brother came to her house for Christmas dinner and tell her a string of bad word long so because she didn't give him the new car. Because he doesn't have an opportunity to get a new car because he doesn't work. She have the opportunity, so she could have not turned in the old car. She could have keep the old car and get the new car.
Wow.
Right?
And this is the reality in many households.
Exactly. You understand? So she has to deal with brother and sister, but who feel that she owes them. So
Right.
now in COVID, can you continue to carry your family? Can you? I don't
No.
know.
Well, I suppose it all depends on how dependent they are on you. I
But then
mean,
if they are dependent, you train them. You train adults to be dependent on you. And if you let
absolutely. Very
and
good
if you
statement.
and if you have been laid off for 60 days and there's no income, what is there to be dependent on? Huh?
Absolutely.
What
Yes.
you going to do? Because we in Jamaica, nobody gives you money for donate blood. So what you're going to do with all of these hangers-on relatives that you train to look to you as the source and now you drive, all of a sudden you don't have no value. So that means
Yes.
now you're going to have a self-esteem issue because your value as a human was tied up in what you could do for other people. And now that's gone.
Absolutely. Okay,
So you
so
see,
what I want, yeah,
it comes back
what I want to, right, self-worth, absolutely. Okay, so so you get laid off, you're at home, you're under pressure because were the only breadwinner, whether it's male or female, because I mean it can be either, right? Um, how does I mean there's no deadline as to when this thing is going to end. Is there do okay? Do you find something else to do during the 3 months? Although you're not fired, you have not been fired. You have just been laid off.
well,
Do you
first of
find
all,
something else to do during this period to bring in
this
income?
Sandra, again, I said it. COVID for all of us, none of us have been spared, is the biggest wake up call ever. So what does this mean? It means, for example, NCB has graciously partnered with 3 companies, Internet Income Jamaica, I Create, and the Northern Caribbean University. And NCB will for you pay for you to get training on online platform. Okay? The thing is going on right now. So you go NCB scholarships. So you're gonna Google NCB Jamaica scholarships and you're gonna apply. So NCB is paying for 3,000 Jamaicans to get training. So that's the
in in
first
in,
thing
an, in another area?
in another area. So that's the first thing I would do. Second thing I would do, I would Google like skill assessment, or I would look for career tests so that I could determine what skills I have. Okay? What skills do I have? I spoke to the team at Internet Income Jamaica and they gave an example of a young lady who was laid off from a daycare center. And she went on Instagram and put that every day she was posting about how she can help parents entertain their children on Zoom for a fee while they're working at home. And she arranged for payment, gave the parents her this is in Jamaica, you know, her account number, and she got 25 paying parents to pay her to be on Zoom, and she was willing to be on Zoom for up to 8 hours with the children so the parents could work. Can you imagine? She went from doing daycare to doing online babysitting. You can imagine that at her yard with her phone on Zoom. And so all she was doing was babysitting the children, keeping an eye on the children. The little children loved the opportunity to talk to auntie, and they loved the opportunity to see each other on Zoom. Okay, they see each other on Zoom, and they have a virtual, she set up a virtual daycare in Jamaica, and the parents deposit the money into her account every week for her to babysit and pay attention to the children so that the parents could work from home.
Well, everybody is going to be required to pivot at some point in this period, whether it is personal or small businesses. What is your advice to small businesses at this time in terms of filling that gap of that lost income?
All right. So for small business,
I know small business is your baby.
Right. All right. Okay. So small business right now is, I mean, I would think it's almost worse than the pain of a bad marriage, you know, because it's not just you, it's your employees, it's your landlord, it's your suppliers, it's the whole ecosystem that you have created as a business person. And in some cases, you're seeing it crumble. So let's be honest. You see it crumble. Right. The question, though, is where was it crumbling from? And there is an analysis that we need to do. So, for example, let's say you're a vendor at a cruise at the pier, you know, in Mobay, Ochi. Your business has crumbled because you were reliant on the tourists, and you may have gotten used to earning US dollars from your goods. Okay, but here is where the good thing is. You know how to sell. You are not afraid to approach strangers. Is it time now to sell vegetables? Is it time now to sell, you know, hair? Because no matter the COVID, we still want to take time do our hair or something. What can you now sell? Because the underlying skill of sales is there.
Right.
So it's now time again to do the self-care and say, all right, I'm going to build up myself, even if it's over just 7 days, and figure out. And guess what this also means? I don't care if it's Coronation Market or Facebook. Community is what COVID is about as well. You can't rebuild yourself in a vacuum. So if you're a cruise ship, if you are selling to the cruise ships, I'm positive you have connections with taxi men, you have connections with other vendors, you have connections with the people who run this cruise pier. You know people in the network that you had in Ochi or Mobay or wherever. It is now time to reach out to that network and find out what other people are doing, and maybe an idea will spark. It is not the time to go home, go sit down and cry, or go home and listen to the people who have a long list of demands that you cannot fill.
Right.
You need to stay far away from those people. You have to get out there and network and talk so that you can get the ideas to pivot. Okay?
Right. And somebody will look at you, somebody will say to you, no, but I'm shy. I don't know where to start. I didn't develop any relationship. I didn't develop any relationships. I just had a stall here, or my business was here, For example, I'm a hairdresser, you know, my customers not coming. So if my customers not coming, how am I going to earn?
Well, again, it is time. If you're an introvert, if you are so introverted, you don't like to talk to people, my only advice is Google. You're gonna have to do your research on the internet. I
You
can't
have to
give you
step out. You have to step out of
because,
your comfort zone.
yeah, because if you're
You
not
have to step
prepared to
out.
talk to human in around you, you're gonna have to talk to the humans online. You may even find it more comfortable. Because again, the young lady who came out of the daycare situation, she was earning what she was earning about $8,000 a week at the daycare, and she lost that. All of a sudden, she's getting $4,000 a week from other parents. So she cut her rate in half and
Mm-hmm.
making 10 times more money. And she's not breaking curfew.
Right.
She's social distancing. Yeah. And all she's doing is moving her skill set, which is the patience to deal with picnic with other people don't have, and she moved it online.
So we all have to find a way out of no way to one pivot to something else. A lot of persons resist change. We have to find a way to change. As I promised earlier to say how I am coping during this COVID period, because it has not been easy for me. As you know, I have a spa business, and so my spa business is personal touch. However, there are certain treatment protocols that you can put in place in terms of wearing gloves, in terms of wearing the mask. I mean, like everywhere else that you go now, you have the gun where you test the temperature. You know, you have sanitization stations, all of that. What I had to do, I had to cut hours. I had to cut, well, the government cut the hours, I cut the days. Because the truth is, you're not earning as much as before, so you can't pay everybody. You have to stagger the payments over, stagger the work hours so that everybody gets a little. You know what I mean? Because you can't, everybody can't just come to work and sit down and do nothing. So you
Right.
have to find a way to make it work for you until the doors are fully open again, if you
And
want to remain open.
right, and there's a lot of talk that COVID, you have two camps. COVID is gonna be with us for 2 years, and then the other camp is COVID is gonna be with us forever.
Right.
So in either case, 2 years or forever, what are you going to do? Like for me, I can tell you, the consultancy world, it not pretty because all of a sudden people are thinking twice before they hire you as a
Mm-hmm.
consultant. Yeah. So what
Yes.
does that mean? I have to dig deep and I have to do my own personal development. I have to
Right.
do emotion. I have a son with special needs. And I can tell you, when you have a child with special needs and you break their routine, listen to me,
Yeah.
listen to me, it not pretty. He is up every 5:30 in the morning ready for school.
Right.
And there is no school. And it's,
Right.
on my case, and he will have emotional issues and learning issues. And then his condition, he's not much of a sleeper because sleeping interferes with his breathing. You understand? So
Okay.
I don't push him to even take a nap in the day because I'm not gonna pay attention and he may stop breathing. Okay?
Yes.
So he's basically up from 5:30 in the morning to 11 o'clock at night. He will be up going, and asking about school every few minutes, not even every hour, because they are very
Right.
repetitive. When you
Right.
and they also exhibit a lot of nervous habits because of the anxiety. If I don't do my own personal development and center myself, coping with his different way of seeing the world, I would be tearing out my hair.
Yeah. Okay, so we have about 5 minutes left in the hour. What I want you to also touch up on, Denise, is can we save, well, two things. Can we save during this period? Because there's not much. And two, I see where a lot of the investments are crumbling. So what savings that we do have, we are also losing. Can you just talk a little bit about that as well? Because and I'm gonna lie to you, I'm getting a little nervous because I put down my little money, my little cash that I put down, and they're saying that this stock is dropping, that stock is dropping. Can you just touch a little bit on that, please?
Okay, so as I said, first investment is you. Right now, I would say to anybody, consider diversifying into different currencies if the stock market is something that's making you uncomfortable. So if you do have an extra 2 cents in your pocket, maybe you don't want to do stocks if you don't fully understand the stock market, but you can buy some US, some pounds, some Canadian, and put it down in the short run, like the next 6 months to a year. I would tell you to do that. If you're comfortable with the stock market, look at what is the number one industry right now. What is it that we cannot do without? Food.
Food, yes. Food and the cleaning items right now. Food and cleaning items.
Right. So what are the companies that provide food, medical items, technology? Because those are the three big things that's driving us now. So
Zoom
what are the
and all those online platforms that people have to be using now for meetings.
So what are those companies so you can have that conversation with your financial advisor?